So, again guys, we're after efficiency, right? You can't see efficiency when you're looking at the economy as a whole. You have to look at the detail, tiny detail. That's why you use the microscope, microeconomics. You look at the market, but even looking at the market doesn't really reveal the secret of efficiency. You look at even a greater detail up close. You don't look at the market as a whole, you look at a single firm, right? And that's what we're doing here. And we see what the firm does. The firm takes market prices given and chooses to produce quantity that maximizes the profit, and this is the profit. That makes sense? Very good. Now the question is, what is the meaning of economic profit? Because you remember, we had this chat, right? And we said that in economics, profit is not just profit, it is economic profit. It's different from accounting profit. In what respect is it different? And why?
Is it like opportunity?
Exactly. It's the profit that accounts not just for your excuse me, for your accounting costs, right? It also accounts for opportunity costs. What's the difference? What are the opportunity costs? What is the opportunity cost? Yes?
I think it's something what you give up.
What you give up, absolutely.
Yeah.
What you
What
give up
you
in order
could
to
be
what?
making.
Say it again?
What you could be making.
Exactly. What's the cost of attending college, guys? It's way too high, right? What is the cost of attending college? You pay your tuition, you pay your books, gas, oh my gosh, right, all these costs. When you add it up, you get a pretty number, right? Pretty big number. You know what? The number you get is a fraction of the economic cost of attending college. What are we missing? For Pete's sake, while you're sitting here and listening to me,
We could be at work.
you could have been out there working and making money. And because of me, you're giving up that money. Is the money you would be making if you weren't sitting here, is that money theoretical? Is it some kind of a virtual money, or is it real money that you're leaving on the table somewhere? It's very real money, right? That's also a cost of attending college, right? Is it or is it not? Of course. And that's what economists account for. These opportunity costs, right? Why is it important to account for those opportunity costs? Because if you account for the opportunity costs, you start understanding people better. For example, if someone starts a business and makes 200 grand a year, accounting profit, their accountant congratulates you, you're running a business, $200,000 a year. Your accountant congratulates you. You are the most successful startup I've ever worked with. First year, 200 grand, fantastic. And you somehow don't seem very happy, very excited. And your accountant asks you, what's wrong? Why aren't you laughing? Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you throwing a huge party? Well, what if, when you finished college, you got a lucrative offer to go work for Google for $500,000. Did we talk about this in the last class, guys? I think we did, right?
Probably last week.
Well, last week, exactly. So if you got an offer to go work for Google for $500,000, but you thought to yourself, I'd like to work for myself. I'd like to be my own boss. So you turned down a $500,000 offer from Google in order to start your business. And your business goes fine. It makes $200,000. How do you feel?
Great.
Both.
And you start another year, and that second year you're again making $200,000. How are you feeling?
Not so good.
You start counting. For Pete's sake, by now I could have been a millionaire. Okay? So when you go and make $200,000 accounting profit, after you turn down a $500,000 offer, how much economic profit are you making? Negative 300,000. You are losing 300 grand you could have been making. That makes sense? There you go. That's what we mean by economic profit. So that would be negative economic profit. When you're making less than the best offer you left on the table, right? The best offer, best alternative you had. What does a positive economic profit mean?
That you took the job at Google and stayed there?
When you're making more than the best alternative you've ever had. Okay? Why? Why is that interesting? Why is it important to talk about? Two reasons, guys. First of all, positive and negative economic profit are highly visible. You've seen positive economic profit, you just didn't know what it's called. In this course, we just give it a name, okay? You've seen negative economic profit. You just didn't know what it's called. You can see it. You recognize it when you see it. Number one. Number two, positive and negative economic profit, being highly visible, have a high motivational impact. Motivate people to do things they wouldn't do otherwise. How do you recognize positive economic profit? How do you recognize that someone is making positive economic profit even if you didn't take econ class?
Driving Bentley.
Exactly. You move to a neighborhood, you get your first job, you move to a neighborhood, buy your first house, you get your first new car, you're happy, you're gonna be paying loans forever, and suddenly next to you, a new family moves. Right? Next to you, there's a new neighbor, new family. They move in, she's driving Maserati, he's driving Lamborghini. 3 days later, they come knock on your door, bring some kind of apple pie. Hi, we're your new neighbors. We came to introduce ourselves. How are you doing? I'm Will. This is Deborah. Let's get to know each other. Great, guys. That's wonderful that you came. Next week, we're having a cookout. We're going to be grilling. Can you come? Gee, next week is not good. Sorry. Debbie and I are flying to Tokyo. We're going shopping. You know, it's extended weekend. What are we going to do? So we're going to Tokyo to shop. Shop to Tokyo? You gotta do it, guys. Don't tell me you've never shopped in Tokyo. You've never shopped in Tokyo. You gotta go, guys. That's fantastic shopping. Who are these people? Driving these cars and shopping in Tokyo? Whoa, right? Positive economic profit. You notice. Okay? And you think to yourself, what kind of a business is this person in? I mean, living in this house here, and is it some kind of a world-class neurosurgeon? The only one who can save everybody's life? Is that what makes them so rich? And then you suddenly realize, no, you know what? I think he's managing a pizza place over on the corner. Is it like old money inherited or something? No, apparently he's making millions. What? Baking pizza? Are you kidding me? You can't make that much money baking. Apparently you can. Whoa. Maybe not all of you, but some of you start thinking, if he can make that much money baking pizza, maybe I can do it too, no? Look, if the dude was a neurosurgeon, can you just decide, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start being a neurosurgeon, I'm going to be making me millions? Not that easy, right? But baking pizza, do you feel competent enough to maybe go work at a pizza place for a few months, learn the ropes, open your own pizza place and become a millionaire? Would you do that? Would you consider doing it?
Yeah.
If you knew that that's how, see, that's what positive economic profit is. First of all, you see it, and second of all, it attracts attention, right? And attracts not only attention, it also attracts entry, right? Firms enter that industry. That makes sense? So positive economic profit, guys, attracts entry of new firms. Positive economic profit attracts entry of new firms. That's the meaning of positive economic profit. Well, what does it mean? Is this industry gonna stay the way it looks now forever?
No.
If that positive economic profit earned by your typical pizza place attracts entry of new pizza places into the industry. Well, if new pizza places enter the industry, what's gonna change? Curveball question, guys. First day of classes. There's plenty of factors determining demand, right? Price of substitutes, complements, income, tastes, expectations, number of consumers. And then there's plenty of factors determining supply, remember? Prices of inputs, prices of alternative goods, technology, expectations, and number of
Population?
firms. So when positive economic profit attracts entry of new firms, what happens to number of firms in the industry? What happens to number of firms in the industry when new firms are entering?
Increases.
Increases, and as the number of firms in the industry rises, which of these two curves shifts?
Supply.
Supply to where?
Right.
To the right. So your supply curve starts shifting to the right as new firms enter, and the supply curve keeps shifting to the right as long as firms are entering. How long are the firms gonna keep entering? As long as there's awesome cars to be driven when you bake pizza, right? When is that flow of new firms into the industry gonna end? When there's no Maseratis being driven in pizza industry, right? How is that inflow of new firms gonna reduce and eventually eliminate economic profit? Because as the supply shifts to the right, what happens to equilibrium price? Falls. Equilibrium price is falling. And as equilibrium price is falling, the firm is producing less and less and less and making smaller and smaller economic profit. How low do you think the price will fall? So low that economic profit turns zero. How low is the price at which economic profit is zero? That's how low that price is, right? So price falls from PE to PE prime as a result of supply shifting from S to S prime, right? So the supply curve shifts to the right and price falls from PE to PE prime. How much is this firm going to produce at low price PE prime? How much is that firm going to produce? Quantity at which price equals marginal cost. Price equals marginal cost. That's the quantity. Correct? Let's call that quantity Q star star. Okay? So, price is falling and the firm produces smaller quantity, right? How about the market? How much is the market now producing? What is the new equilibrium quantity?
More.
This is the new equilibrium quantity QE prime. So the market is now producing more, right? But how is it possible that the market produces more pizza when every pizza place bakes less pizza?
You have more firms.
Because there are more firms. Exactly. So, positive economic profit attracts new firms to enter the industry. Entry of new firms shifts supply to the right, depresses the price in the industry. depresses the profit of representative firm until the firm ends up with zero economic profit. Right? In other words, the firm transition from quantity Q star to quantity Q double star, at which it produces zero economic profit. Now that the firm is making zero economic profit, what does it look like? What does zero economic profit look like, guys? We said economic profit is visible. Does zero economic profit mean that the firm is borderline bankrupt? They can't pay their bills?
No.
What does it mean? How do you recognize a zero economic profit?
It's still there.
Driving Honda,
You're driving a Honda,
Toyota.
or Toyota, or Chevy. Not the recalled one. You live in your 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, right? You don't shop at
Louis Vuitton.
Tokyo, Ginza, but you're shopping at Walmart or Sears or something, right? You don't take vacation skiing in Kilimanjaro, but fishing at Okeechobee. Does that make sense? That's what zero economic profit means. So when a neighbor moves next to you, and you see neighbor parking a Chevy Malibu in a garage, and then throwing a neighborhood party where they're grilling regular hot dogs, does it strike you like, wow, gotta get me into that industry? That is so inspiring. That white Malibu really rocks. Never seen anything that attractive. But, see, it basically, zero economic profit means you're making just as much as in the best alternative industry or opportunity. That makes sense? Very good. So we just explained the long-run adjustment of a firm and an industry that started with positive economic profit. And we see that the firm moves or transitions from this equilibrium to that equilibrium, and the market transitions from this equilibrium to that equilibrium. What do we call those equilibria? We call this equilibrium short-run equilibrium in the market, and this a short-run equilibrium of the firm. This is the long-run equilibrium in the market, and this is the long-run equilibrium of the firm. Why? Why do we call this equilibrium long-run equilibrium, whereas this equilibrium short-run equilibrium? Okay, does this short-run equilibrium last forever? Why not? Because there's... Yes?
Oh, I was gonna say because the firms,
What about the firms?
they track, so they come in the market.
Because firms are entering and changing the equilibrium, right? Why are the firms entering? Because there's positive economic profit, exactly. So as long as the firm is making positive economic profit, equilibrium is a short-run equilibrium. It is an equilibrium, but it's a short-run equilibrium because in the long run it's not going to last, it's going to change, right? Because firms are entering. What makes this equilibrium the long-run equilibrium? The fact that there is zero economic profit. How attractive is this industry now that managers are driving Chevy Malibus? It's no more attractive than any other industry. That makes sense? All right, guys. Is this the way you think about industries and about your career choices and stuff like that? No, this is so strange, this is so theoretical, right? Well, let me ask you something. Raise your hand if when you were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and you were dreaming one day you're gonna be Superman, or I don't know, Superwoman, Catwoman, I don't know. And whatever you were doing. Raise your hand if you dreamed of being a super accountant. Anyone's childhood dream was being an accountant. Yet, there's quite a few in your generation who will end up studying accounting, right? At age 19, 20, 21, 22, you're going to be studying accounting until you finish that college. One day you end up working for an accountant. Why? Is it because now that you grew up, you realize that accounting is just so charismatic, it's so sexy. You cannot get your hands off those books. They just feel so good. Is that what draws? Do people go into accounting?
Yeah.
Every year, thousands of American kids, bright kids, graduate from B schools with accounting degree, right? Why? Because accounting is basically better than Hollywood, right? Being an actor, actress, it's cool, but being an accountant, that rocks. That celebrity status that comes with it, fantastic. Is that why people go into accounting? No? Because that's what I thought. What else would they go there for?
It helps to like learn how to handle money.
The thrill of it.
Is that why?
Make a good living.
You make a good living, it's a good opportunity, right? It turns out, no? I mean, are smart kids going into accounting known to barely scrape by?
I don't think accountants make.
Maybe that's their aptitude.
I don't know any accountant that's a millionaire. Get the CFO.
You do, right?
My uncle is.
There you go.
He has a house with our own.
There you go. Anyways, the bottom line is, look, people go there for opportunities. Opportunities drive people's decisions, right? And aptitude, of course, talent has to do with everything. Yeah, I mean, if I was as talented as Tom Cruise, I would probably be, doing Mission Impossible. Here I'm settling for Mission Possible, teaching you micro. So, yeah. Those are basically opportunities. They tell you and explain what people do. Since this particular industry offers these extraordinary opportunities, it attracts entry of new firms. Eventually those firms, of course, flood the market, push the price down, and the opportunities are simply gone. That makes sense? So in the long run, this industry will end up in this new equilibrium, right? With equilibrium price PE, equilibrium output QE prime, so PE prime, QE prime, and a firm is going to be producing Q star star and make zero economic profit. That's it. Make sense? Now, do all industries at all times make positive economic profit? No. We know that those that do will eventually end up with zero economic profit, right? Do you think there could be industries with negative economic profit? What would it look like? Let's do it on this side of the board and let's try and recalibrate. Let's try and recalibrate that camera.
Yeah, right there.
Actually,
yeah.
you're.
Are we good?
Yes.
All right. So, consider a different firm and a different industry, okay? This is a firm with marginal cost, average total cost, dollars, quantity. It is a typical firm that exists in a market, in an industry, with market supply, market demand. And this industry is in equilibrium, of course, with equilibrium output and equilibrium price, right? And now the question is, how does this firm behave? It means what quantity does that firm choose to produce? Well, easy. Firms produce quantity Q star at which?
Price equals marginal cost.
Excellent. Price equals marginal cost. Can you see where price equals marginal cost? There. This firm is making Q star, quantity Q star. How much economic profit is this firm generating?
None.
Well, this is the price at which they're selling that quantity. Sorry, that's the price at which they're selling every unit. And this is the cost at which they're producing an average unit. If that's the cost at which you're producing it, that's the price at which you're selling it, you are losing, meaning generating negative economic profit on an average unit. What's your overall negative economic profit? It's this large, right? This is your negative economic profit. That makes sense? Okay. What does negative economic profit mean? I said economic profit is visible. You can notice it. How do you notice economic profit in somebody?
Go bankrupt.
That's what you think, right? That's what accountant understands with negative profit. It means you're losing money. Oh my gosh, you're going bankrupt, right? But remember, this is economic profit. That's not accounting profit. You don't have to be going bankrupt. Guys, remember, if you're running a business making 200 grand,
Make it easy, John.
but you turn down a $500,000 job, you are making negative economic profit of $300,000. Are you going bankrupt, making 200K a year? No. Negative economic profit only means that you have a better opportunity somewhere else, right? There's a better opportunity for you somewhere else. Again, how do you recognize that? How do you recognize that someone might have a better opportunity somewhere else? I don't know. You go work at a school. You're a teacher. Are teachers known to be way overpaid? It's a great meme nowadays to think of public employees as overpaid moochers who live off of the rest of us and so on, right? But talk to elementary school teachers and you'll find how different. You go to see the parking lot at the elementary school, what kind of cars do you see there? If you see Chevy Malibu, that must be a principal, right? Most teachers drive small, little cars, many of them probably old cars, right? And so on. So you come to that school, and suddenly you see a relatively young person pulling up in a really beat-up old Honda Civic. Like, oh my gosh, how's that thing holding together? And a young person walks out, hi, I'm new here, my name is Roman. Oh hey, I'm Joe, I'm teaching chemistry here. Wow, you're a chemistry teacher, that's awesome, I really love sciences. Yeah. How do you like it here? Well, you know, it's okay. So where did you get your bachelor's? And it goes, well, you know, I got my bachelor's over at Harvard, then I went to MIT for a master's, and then I got me a Stanford PhD in chemistry. And then I went for microbiology PhD over at California Institute of Technology, and then I got me a second PhD. No, then I went for a med school, and I got me a medical degree in I don't know where. I'm like, whoa. Something doesn't add up, right? Were you sued for malpractice? No, why are you asking? I mean, how did you end up in an elementary school driving a beat-up old Civic? Gee, I don't know. Sometimes I'm asking that same question myself, you know? So, what do you think? How long is that person going to last there? With that obviously making negative economic profit, right? I'm sure the teacher is not broke, obviously spends no money on that car, right? But Do you think someone with a PhD in microbiology and medical school degree could have better opportunities somewhere else rather than teaching little kids for 25K or 30K a year? Probably is, right? So that tells you negative economic profit. Once you spot negative economic profit, you know what's going to happen. What's going to happen? What is this young teacher going to do? He's going to leave, right? He's going to leave because there's better opportunities somewhere else. Guys, you can predict human behavior, right? This concept is helpful, is useful because it helps you predict human behavior. Once you see an industry where a typical firm makes negative economic profit, you know it's an industry from which people are going to be fleeing, leaving, right? Exiting. So here, firms exit. Now my question is this equilibrium going to last? Is it a long-run equilibrium if firms are exiting? No, it's definitely a short-run equilibrium, right? And the firm is definitely in a short-run equilibrium. Now, as the firms are leaving, what changes in that market? Which curve changes? Which curve shifts? Say it again?
Supply.
Supply definitely shifts. Which way? Left or right?
Left.
Definitely shifts to the left. Of course, as the supply curve shifts to the left, what happens to market price? It rises. And as the price rises, the firm is making less and less negative profit, right? The profit is rising in the sense it's becoming less negative. My question is, when do firms stop fleeing that industry? When do firms stop exiting?
Profit is zero.
When profit is zero, right? And profit is zero, of course, and profit, of course, is zero when the firm is producing Q star star at the price PE prime, right? And that is the price in the new equilibrium when this is the new supply curve, S prime, correct?
What is Q star star?
The new quantity the firm produces. The new quantity that maximizes the profit, the quantity that satisfies the profit maximizing condition. That makes sense? Q star star. Very good. All right, guys. So once the price rises from PE to PE prime, supply shifts from S to S prime, price rises from PE to PE prime, the firm increases output from Q star to Q star star and ends up making zero economic profit, right? Of course, once the firm is making zero economic profit, the industry is in the long run equilibrium. That makes sense? So negative economic profit over time repels firms out of the industry. Firms are leaving the industry in response to negative economic profit. As a result, supply shifts to the left, price is falling, market output is falling, each firm ends up producing more, and the profit eventually reaches zero. Economic profit eventually reaches zero. Okay? So this is the story of industries in the long run. That makes sense? Let's now try and focus on what these two examples have in common. One shows the industry initially, or firms initially producing positive economic profit, here negative economic profit. Over a long period of time, in the long run, what happens to both those industries? Where do they end up? With zero economic profit. That means they end up in a long run equilibrium, right? Long run equilibrium. So whether you start with positive economic profit or you start with negative economic profit, eventually firms and industries end up in a long run equilibrium with zero economic profit. That makes sense? Let me now clear this part of the board and just show you a clean picture of an industry and a firm in a long run equilibrium. Okay? So far we've basically studied how firms get to that long run equilibrium, and now let's see very cleanly what that long run equilibrium looks like. Market, supply, demand, equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, firm, your typical firm, marginal cost, average total cost. How much is this firm producing? Quantity where price equals marginal cost. Price equals marginal cost. Quantity Q star. Here it was called Q star star, right? How much economic profit is this company or is this firm generating? What's the economic profit? Zero economic profit. Very good. Is this firm and industry the industry in equilibrium? Yes. The firm is maximizing the profit. They can't do any better. And the market clears. It produces equilibrium output at equilibrium price. So it's equilibrium. What kind of equilibrium is this? Long run or short run equilibrium? Long run or short run?
Would it be long?
Long run, because there's zero economic profit. There's how many firms are motivated to enter this industry? No. How many firms are eager to leave this industry? None. They're making just as much as they could make somewhere else, so why leave? Why enter, right? It offers the same opportunities than any other opportunity, available opportunity. So you're looking at a long-run equilibrium. Right? Long-run equilibrium. The bottom line, guys, is our entire talk of how firms and industries adapt in the long run, how they converge towards long-run equilibrium, results in the fact that those industries and those firms end up looking like this. Okay? Why is that important? Why are we doing this? What is it we're trying to explain, guys? Guys, you have arrived. You are looking at it. Finally, after all that analysis, you are looking at the source of efficiency. You may not see it, but you're looking at it. What in that picture tells you, screams at you, efficiency.
There's no market power.
But we'll get there.
It's at the bottom of the average total cost.
Because in the long run, your typical firm produces quantity at the lowest average total cost. At the lowest average total cost. What does it mean? It means that you're baking your average pizza at the lowest possible cost. So, if you bake your average pizza at the lowest possible cost, then what? That means you're baking your 200 pizzas a day at the lowest cost there is. At the lowest cost possible to bake 200 pizzas. Given the technology to bake pizza, nobody can bake pizza cheaper than you. Not cheaper, but less costly, right? You are baking pizza at the lowest possible cost. Okay, so why is that important? What does it mean to bake something at the lowest cost?
Maximize profit.
You certainly maximize profit and you're driving your Malibu, right? Definitely. But baking at the lowest possible cost means that you are using the minimum amount of resources possible to produce those goods. Guys, here it all comes together. Do you remember what the economy is? A system that does what? A system that transforms resources into goods and services. Exactly. So, in the process of baking pizza, you take up some resources to bake pizza, right? And when you bake your pizza efficiently at the lowest average total cost, in order to bake your pizza, you take up how much resources? Minimum amount, as little as possible. So here in America, we bake a lot of pizza, but we bake it efficiently. It means we're using up as little as possible in resources, as few resources as possible to bake the pizza. Why is that important? Are you glad you live in a country that bakes pizza at the lowest possible cost? Why? Why does it make you happy?
It's efficient.
Okay, why does that make you happy? Because if baking pizza ties up the minimum amount of resources, it then leaves all the other resources to do what?
Used for other stuff.
To produce other goods and services, exactly. Do you like pizza? Me too. Is pizza all you like?
No.
Oh, but your life is fantastic because yes, you have pizza, which makes American dreams so much more pleasurable, right? But you also drive a nice car. One day you're going to be living in a nice big house. All these things, right? How is it possible that in America we don't just have super pizza, but we have super everything? Because we're baking our super pizza with the minimum amount of resources and we're leaving the rest of resources to make all the other super things, right? Look, in America we produce a lot of food, right? What do we make that food out of? Out of agricultural products, right? Do we grow corn and wheat in this country? Yeah, more than just about anybody else. We have enormous production of goods and services, agricultural goods and services, right? We produce agricultural goods in unprecedented quantities. What portion of our labor is tied up producing all those untold quantities of corn and soy and everything else we're producing in this country? What portion of our labor force, right, there's labor among those resources, what portion of labor force serves in production of agricultural products? Wild guesses? Estimates vary between 1 and 2%, guys. 1 to 2% of all American workers end up producing so much agricultural goods that we all can eat pizza all we want. Why is it awesome that all it takes is 2% of people?
What, you said why is it awesome?
Yes, why is that awesome?
So we can do other stuff. Like
Because
other
it
careers.
leaves 98% of us to do everything else, right? To be doctors, teachers, pharma reps, marketing executives and accountants and whatnot, right? That's the whole idea. And that way, thanks to that, in America, we don't just produce a lot of pizza. We are also producing awesome quantity of health services, educational services. We construct a lot of buildings, roads, houses. We produce all that because we do it efficiently, right? And we do it efficiently when firms are producing at the lowest possible cost. Does that make sense? So now we discovered the secret of efficiency, guys. It is the fact that in the long run, firms tend to produce at the lowest possible cost. The question, of course, is, does really every firm in America always produce at the lowest possible cost? Or does every firm in America end up in the long run producing at the lowest possible cost? Not necessarily. Look, in the process of that analysis, you already identified some conditions that are needed, that are necessary for that long run equilibrium to occur. First of all, you have to have an industry where firms can do what? Exit. Or if it's an industry where firms are making positive economic profit, new firms must be able to enter, right? You also have to have an industry where firms are producing identical product, homogeneous product, right? There are all these conditions that need to be satisfied. What do we call it? An industry that actually satisfies all these conditions for the industry to end up in a long run efficient equilibrium. What do we call an industry like that?
Free market.
Perfect competition. That's what we mean. And when people talk about free market, what most people really don't know is they're talking about perfect competition. Okay? Perfect competition is the kind of market structure where firms and industries end up in a long run efficient equilibrium. Thank you so much. Let's switch that off.